A famous explorer once said that the extraordinary is in what we do, not who we are. I'd finally set out to make my mark, to find adventure. But instead, adventure found me. In our darkest moments, when life flashes before us, we find something that keeps us going. Something that pushes us.
This would happen.
Come on, Doctor.
Where the
Help us out here.
No sign of Robbie Lara.
Jonah! I'm here!
Hey guys, this is the Tomb Raider walkthrough. It is me, I'm back. Well, we're all back for Elite Radiation. The reason we were gone, I don't know, like, to be exact, but yeah, we've been gone for a while, but don't worry, we're like back now. Everything's gonna go back on track. We're gonna start the Tomb Raider walkthrough. I'm gonna try to get back to that Mario walkthrough. Definitely more Call of Duty, especially with the expansion packs coming out and everything. But right now, right here, I'm gonna talk about Tomb Raider. Well, the newest Tomb Raider. Now, the newest Tomb Raider. By the way, this is probably the only Tomb Raider video I'm gonna do that I'm not recording the same time as playing. It's just I didn't have the recording equipment like the recording equipment when I was playing the game, so it was kind of like I just had to, really get this done because, I didn't like not having video online for a really long time. So this is the newest Tomb Raider in the entire franchise. It's actually a reboot. It was published by Square Enix, sorry, and it was developed by Crystal Dynamics. And it's kind of like a reboot in the entire Lara Croft series, and it is an amazing game. It basically talks about how Lara and a bunch of her crew are stranded on an island. It's only about Lara though. She's like a solo in this, and it's all about how she's like alone on this island, and how she like goes from like this frail, vulnerable little girl to like this strong, badass woman. The other character is still the same, Lara Croft, and she has the trademark ponytail, etc. Definitely not as acrobatic or like flexible, not in that sense, to the old one. But you see her slowly develop into the Lara we all know and love. Compared to the other games, I didn't really like Underworld, and I didn't really like Legends. Anniversary was okay, even though I hated it probably more than them. And I only liked Anniversary because it kind of like, Atlantis, etc. And any game that has something to do with going underwater, I love. But the thing is, the thing is about this game is that I love it. It's perfect. It's not the traditional Tomb Raider in the sense that you go do the mission, find the treasure, do a bunch of puzzles. Here is action, treasure, everything, and you also have like an open world. You're not stuck. And for people wondering, yes, after you finish the story, you can still go in the open world. The open world is incredible. It's not as free as other games, but the point is, Tomb Raider was never meant to be like an open world type of game. But the thing is that they added this into it, makes it 10 times better. And I really want to see how they continue it off into the series. The game has a few puzzles. For every tomb, there's a puzzle at least. But the puzzles, for example, in the beginning are not too hard. It's just burn this, burn that, and you get through it. But it's towards the end that's really good. Now, I don't want to start any fights, but it's a lot like Uncharted, even though the first Tomb Raider came out before. So you could say Uncharted is a lot like Tomb Raider. But I feel like they did borrow some of the things from, even though they're completely different games in the end. Like, I'm not joking, they are completely different. The only thing that may remind you is the shooting mechanisms and the climbing mechanisms. I mean, the way she climbs, etc., how it's about discovering treasure, that's it. I mean, everything else is different. The cover system in Tomb Raider, I love it, because you don't need to click, certain buttons and do random things. It covers automatically for you, and that is something that's really useful. The campaign of the story itself is incredibly long, about 12 to 15 hours it'll take. But however, once you finish the campaign, there's so much more to do outside of the story. However, the campaign is really amazing. It's rich of story, and it's something that will fascinate you and will grab your attention until the end. As you can see, like right now, Lara Croft's going through the cave and everything, and she's still very frail and weak. She's turning around. She looked around recently and just looked at her back, and she doesn't know what's going on. She goes through a hell in this game. If you see when she falls in the beginning, she gets stabbed by that nail thing. Luckily, it's like perspective, so you don't think it's that big. Otherwise, I really thought she was gonna die and I did something wrong. But otherwise, it's pretty cool, making this frail little weak girl until this, turning her into a badass, because I think what's amazing about the game is that you turn her into a badass yourself, It's your controls, your way of making her in the story that makes her the badass, the things she does. The new Lara Croft, she has a new voice, and it's not bad. It's pretty amazing, actually. I miss the Lara Croft voice because it's the one that we all got used to, but this one did an amazing job. And then the way new Lara Croft looks is pretty good. I mean, yeah, she doesn't have the same breasts as the old one, but let's be legit. Come on, those were not realistic. And in the beginning, these were only made like those because of a flaw, not a flaw, like a little fun from the designer in which he increased it, and then that by accidentally was sold everywhere. As you can see in the puzzle, it's not that complex, but this is just the beginning. I guess it's just to introduce you to the idea. Each of the Tomb Raider walkthrough videos are probably going to be pretty long, 20 minutes or so, because there's not really a start and end to level like Uncharted, etc. It's more like a continuing thing, so you won't really know when to start or to end something. But I'll try to, release as much as I can quickly, and I have to hurry up. The music in the game is really good, although I wish they did have like in how in other games where you have like the Mario theme. I know it's Mario, of course you're gonna know the theme. But like Uncharted, for example, not to compare it again and seem like, yeah, Uncharted's better. Just to be honest, not to spring hate us or anything, but I kind of like this game more than Uncharted. There's just so much more of a variety to do. But yeah, the Uncharted, the theme music, everyone knows that theme song when they hear it. For people who play the game, and automatically you're like, oh yeah, that's Uncharted. I wish they did that for Tomb Raider, but that'll come later. The story is kind of depressing. Like, it's sad, but it's Lara's development that makes it all better. Oh, you see this part? I love it because it really makes you think into the game. You got everything perfect, and then kick that person out, and you're right on time. But it's also pretty gruesome, a lot of blood, etc. So if you're like type of someone who's like afraid of those type of stuff, then I wouldn't recommend playing the game. But then there's this epic part. Now, for some reason, this part is pretty cool. But when she climbs up, it kind of reminds me of like The Grudge, not The Grudge, The Ring, when she's like climbing up the well and everything. It's kind of creepy, but it's pretty cool. Like, but you know, I remember how everyone's like, you know, Nathan Drake has like bad luck. Okay, not to compare it again, I just have to say this. Lara Croft has a lot worse luck in this game. Her luck is like literally horrible in this game. She just goes through entire suffering. But it's the end game that makes it all better, because you know, she's got that amazing bow, the fire arrows, the gun, the pistols. You know, it's just such a good game. The graphics of the game, don't even get me started. They are amazing. I mean, just look at that. Look at that right now. Those graphics are amazing. They're so beautiful. And then this is such a perfect touch to it. You have like her crawling on the floor and everything. You have like all the wreck in the background. This beautiful view. Wait for it. And then it shows the title. And that's just a perfect way to introduce the title to the audience. Here. Wait for it. There we go. Tomb Raider. You know, and I love that they changed the symbol, not the symbol, but the logo of the title of the game, the design of the title, to, you know, to reinvent everything. Everything is reinvented. Everything is different in this game. It's not like the other games we know. They really wanted to change everything up. And if you saw what I did just there, was it was something Laura does. It's a lot like Eagle Vision in Assassin's Creed. It's a lot like that, where it's the same dynamics, etc. It helps you see where you points, etc. But it's still very useful. I'm glad they put that there, because you'd be kind of stuck without it. Like, also in this part, you see as she crosses the wood, you know, she's not just some girl who runs along the wood and is like, yeah, I know what I'm doing. Slowly, and then she's like all fearful and everything about a fall. I mean, it's a completely different Lara. We haven't seen it before. And the thing is, we're changing her into the badass she becomes. I love that. And the game did amazing. It's got multiple awards. It sold 1 million copies in less than 48 hours of its release. It's debuted as #1 on multiple charts. It set new one-week records as the fastest selling individual formats of any Tomb Raider title. It's just doing amazing. It also topped the charts in France, Ireland, Italy, the Netherlands, Norway, and UK. And it's an incredible game, and it deserves all the recognition it gets. This part kind of reminds me of Uncharted, where she climbs the airplane, but, you know, then again, I think any game, to be honest, the type of games that I prefer are Uncharted and Tomb Raider. Those games where you climb and you shoot, and it's like treasure hunting, etc. Those games are so addicting. I just love them. But I like Lara Croft more, because even though when the game's done, it's not like you're just going to replay the story, but you can kind of make your own story by going anywhere in your island, etc., doing anything you want. The island has a huge backstory to it, and there's a huge history to it that you discover on top of that. I mean, that's pretty cool. Not only are you playing the story, but you can find certain pieces of treasure that will tell you more about the island's history, you know? And this entire island is where the entire story takes place. She doesn't go anywhere else. In the beginning, that does sound like it sucks, but there's a variety. There's the snowy mountains, there's the desert beaches, there's the, as you can see here, green forests and cliffs, etc. So the island is pretty amazing. It's kind of like the Just Cause Island, but definitely not as much freedom. But then again, Just Cause wasn't as to me, it didn't feel as developed as Tomb Raider. It felt amazing, beautiful, but Tomb Raider had more of an incredible story, etc. to it. I got Tomb Raider on Xbox 360. This is on the Tomb Raider for Xbox 360. If anyone wants to know, obviously you could tell by the X clicking, etc. The game, however, is for the PC, Microsoft Windows, PlayStation 3, and Xbox 360. It's single player, and there's a multiplayer. The multiplayer is like, I'm sorry, but this multiplayer is really a lot like Uncharted multiplayer. However, the multiplayer is not the key point of the game. I wouldn't really focus on that. If you're buying the game only for the multiplayer, it's not gonna work out. Right there, did you see that? Look at that. That girl goes through so much pain. She just can't help but feel sorry for her. The multiplayer is really good. Sorry, no, excuse me, I'm getting caught my own words. Multiplayer could have been better. They could have improved it more, but then again, Tomb Raider is not really meant to be a multiplayer game, so don't expect too much from it. It's not